Fire Chris Hayes was trending on social media today because he had the audacity to do his job and talk about the very real and credible sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. Now, he had a reporter on from New York Magazine who had actually penned an op-ed about how Biden needs to address Tara Reade's accusations directly. And that led to an insane amount of backlash. So first, I want to show you what got people so upset. Here's one of the clips featuring Chris Hayes talking about the Tara Reade story.
There was also a new development in the story, and that is that Tara Reade's former neighbor at the time went on the record with her name telling Business Insider that in 1995 or 1996, a few years after this, that Reade told her she had been assaulted by Biden. NBC News reached out to Reade's neighbor, who later confirmed by text message the story. This on-the-record reporting from a neighbor, a roughly contemporaneous relaying of the story, has rightly occasioned a new round of coverage and scrutiny, while also creating some serious tension within the progressive coalition.
So that was the first part of his segment. And then later he brought on someone from New York Magazine to share her thoughts. But Cenk, before we get to that clip, was there anything offensive there? I mean, Chris Hayes is not a Democratic operative. He's not a surrogate, as far as I know, for Joe Biden. He's supposed to be doing journalism for a news channel.
So everyone who wrote #FireChrisHayes is very similar to Donald Trump. They think that the press should be doing propaganda and not the news. And they're upset that MSNBC for a couple of minutes did not do wall-to-wall propaganda for the Democratic candidate. And they're like, how dare you? Did news break out at a news station? Unacceptable. No, you should fire that so-called journalist right away and make sure you replace him with a hack who will never, ever dare to disagree with Democratic leadership and the Democratic candidate. So if you're a part of that Fire Chris Hayes thing on Twitter, man, that's so sad. I mean, if you're an apparatchik for the Democratic Party, I get it. You get paid to be that kind of a fill in the adjective, right? But if you're one of the suckers that goes along with that, and you're like really like, I don't want any news. I just want propaganda. Oh my God, you're just like Donald Trump, but from the other side. That's who you are. Live with it.
Well, some of those people we're going to talk about now. So I just want to give you some examples of the arguments they were making on Twitter using this hashtag. One person writes, just want to put this out there. I unfollowed Chris Hayes, and I'd love to see everyone else unfollow that MFer as well. So this person has a pretty, I wouldn't say big, but has a following on Twitter. And then there's one other person saying, oh, this is the Palmer report. Chris Hayes isn't facing backlash for talking about the Biden allegation. He's facing backlash because he falsely characterized the Biden allegation as credible and corroborated when the evidence overwhelmingly says the opposite. That's fascinating. So I would like to see that overwhelming evidence saying the opposite, because there has been corroborating evidence in the form of Tara Reade's next door neighbor from the 90s. Sharing that Tara Reade spoke to her in a detailed way about what happened between Tara Reade and Biden. The sexual assault, not just the sexual harassment, the sexual assault. That is considered corroborating evidence. If this was a criminal trial, that neighbor would be brought to testify to talk about what Tara Reade told her at that time. And by the way, this neighbor came forward on her own. She actually completely lost touch with Tara Reade in the early 2000s. So is that not corroborating evidence? I don't know. I mean, it seems like it is to me. And he has failed. Palmer report has failed to provide any actual evidence contrary to what Tara Reade has said.
If we had 4 corroborating witnesses in Kavanaugh and we had Christine Blasey Ford's mom calling into a television station at the time saying about how she suffered a negative experience with this person, etc. If we had Christine Blasey Ford being taken off an assignment, she didn't obviously work with Kavanaugh, so it's obviously a different fact pattern. But if we had any of this, I guarantee you Palmer Report and everybody else out there in the Democratic establishment, or the really, really sad people who just got brainwashed by the Democratic establishment or want to desperately be in the Democratic establishment, if all those people would have said, yeah, of course, Kavanaugh's guilty, guilty, guilty. And by the way, they probably would have been right. But unlike us, they have no principles at all. So they say, well, if it's in the case of a Republican, then we believe the woman, and we don't want to even hear from the Republican. And progressives, even worse. Did somebody else say something that could be connected to a progressive that said eliminated? I don't even want to hear it, right? But you have this kind of corroboration for establishment Democrat. Nope, I don't see any evidence. I don't see it. Okay, that's how they are, man. It's worse. So sad. I don't know who Palmer Report is. I don't know who reports on. But Palmer, whoever you are, if you're not getting paid by the Democratic Party, man, I feel so sad for you. At least get paid for it.
No, and it's even worse than that, because like wanting to silence journalists from doing their jobs is outrageous. That is outrageous, right? Trying to cover up sexual assault allegations against your preferred political candidate is one thing, right? I've come to understand how politics works and how media is used as a tool to prop up certain candidates. But like, to go after the messenger, to go after a reporter who actually is being principled and is reporting on this fairly, by the way, is outrageous. And I commend Chris Hayes for doing it, because we both know what MSNBC is like. We know how MSNBC tried to censor you, Cenk, in the past. And in this case, if they do end up firing Chris Hayes for doing his job appropriately, MSNBC should not have any credibility at all. That means that they will stomp on any type of investigative reporting if it doesn't fit their political narrative. That's it.
Chris is just about the only guy left on the channel that has any credibility. And if they give into this, that would be so beyond outrageous that I couldn't believe it. But anyway, yeah. So look, in terms of the actual allegations, it is so hard to tell what's true and untrue many years later, decades later, in any of these cases. So do I believe Christine Blasey Ford? Yes. So when I look at Tara Reade, man, that's a lot of corroborating witnesses. It's so hard to know. And we've given you all the context in so many videos here. Is there another point of view? Of course there is. So she first reported a different kind of touching, and then she gave the most serious allegations very late in the process. And we can go on with other pieces of evidence, and we have at great length. So it's not an open and shut case. But if you say that a journalist shouldn't even talk about it, you're just an authoritarian, and you think you're on the left wing, but you're not. And you want to shut down any media that disagrees with you or even brings up a question that you don't like. And that's really sad. And if you think you're on the left, you're not.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.